Fear not, fellow seekers. Peace awaits you in the unknown.
Welcome back to Seekers of the Eternal podcast with Chris and Jay. Chris, how are you, my brother?
I'm doing great. This is going to be a fun one today. I'm really supercharged with some things that I'm really excited to share with others, things that I'm learning myself, things that I know you and I are putting into practice and seeing the fruits of those so immediately. So I think this is going to be a fun one. And really, I think it's also going to set us up for a lot of where we're going in the future with this group and things that we're going to be working on together as a community. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this today and to share some things about the superpowers that we can unlock within ourselves.
I'm looking forward to it. Very excited.
So let's begin. As always, we'll just relax and release the tension in the body. This is just a great thing that you can do. So a little reminder just to do this throughout your day. It's relaxing and releasing the tension in the body. We're going to take a short and long double inhalation. We're going to tense all the muscles in the body. Then we're going to exhale and relax and release the tension 3 times. So let's take a normal deep inhalation. Inhale. And all the way out. And now double inhale and tense. Low, medium, high tension, and all the muscles in the body vibrate with willpower, and exhale. Relax, release, feel. Again, inhale and tense. Low, medium, high, vibrate, bringing energy into the body, and exhale. Relax, release, let the tension go. Again, inhale and tense. Low, medium, high tension in all the muscles, and exhale. Relax, release, feel, tune into a state of receiving. May these words be true. May they be beneficial to all those who receive them. May truth be channeled through our bodies and our voices this day. Blessings, everyone.
So I was really excited when you sent me that message back to talk about what we're going to talk about today, because my mind went in so many different places, in terms of what that meant. And I actually asked my wife what she thought about it as well. So I'll let you kind of set the stage for the discussion today. And I'm here as obviously as an active participant, but almost I'm just ready to, I'm an eager student as well, Chris, for this enlightenment.
Great. And I'm an eager student of this as well. I feel like for me, this has been something that I've been really interested in over a period of a couple of years now, few years now. And it's been coming up in conversations with friends of mine. And as I start to show more and more interest in learning about this, it's just starting to come through in my life in so many ways where I'm getting to learn the teachings more and see how all of this is connected. So the main topic of our conversation today, I think, can be summarized in this quote by one of my teachers at Ananda named Sai Ganesh. He says, "Material success in itself can be spiritual training if we do it with honesty, integrity, sincerity, and ultimately we give it back to God. When we do this, we grow a great deal. And this is what success looks like." And for me, it's like, it's always a question that comes up, and it feels so, I think we get it confused so often of using, I would say you can call it a lot of things, manifestation, magic, these ways of being able to draw to yourself what you need when you need it in the moment. And oftentimes we see a lot of people who are good at doing this, but have nefarious reasons for doing it, or they're doing it out of greed, or they're seeking happiness through the things that they're looking to attain. And we see like these just gross examples of people who know how to move through life and get what they want, financially, materially, manipulating others, things like that. So often we get it confused, and we think those that are on a spiritual path, or those that are seeking higher things in life, should completely avoid thinking about material success. And it also gets really confusing because we hear things like, in the Bible, in Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So we think we have to first seek God only, and get rid of all, desires for any sort of material things. But I think we're getting confused with that. I was thinking about this week. I wrote down some words here that were coming to mind. I think it'd be easier just to read this. This is what I was thinking about last night. Okay, so if a path towards the kingdom of God is what we're aiming at, this kingdom of God, the kingdom of God is within, and we're really talking about Sat Chit Ananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. The kingdom of God is within. This idea is what we should be seeking: lasting, true happiness. We all should know by now. I mean, at least you can see, if you haven't had any material success, you can at least see all of the examples of people on your TV who have material success and are not happy, have not found this lasting joy. So we all know, at least on a level, that material things aren't going to bring us the happiness that they promise, or that we think they will. But I was thinking, that this path toward the kingdom of God, wouldn't it include having your needs met, your basic needs met, so that you could meditate with far less fear and be able to dive much deeper with an attitude of spiritual adventurousness, living our life with a sense of adventure and not being afraid of the world, not feeling like we don't have any control over being able to meet our needs, and some tragedy could fall on us and we could be doomed, or that this world is just such a scary place. Then we could learn to live without needing anything. We could, once we become masters of meditation, self-realized masters, we don't even need to eat. We don't need to sleep. We can get through without. There's stories of great saints, even in the autobiography of a yogi. There's a woman who she ate like a couple of grains of rice per day or something like that, and Yogananda talked about not sleeping for, he's like, I sleep 3 hours per month or something like that. And so eventually, once we become masters, we really don't need any of these things, these material things. But when we can learn to do is to draw to ourselves what we need when we need it in the moment. And if we're in a life where we have we're worried about our bills, we're worried about feeding our family, we don't have our basic needs met, we're getting sick all of the time, we are living in a kind of a state of chaos, we have relationships that are troubled, all of these things are going to get in the way of your meditation. If you don't have a space to sit in that you can be quiet for a little while without, people banging on your door trying to kill you or whatever is happening in your life, you're not going to be able to meditate and really focus and concentrate. So what do you do? What do you do if your life is in chaos? What do you do if you've got bill collectors, knocking on your door, people trying to repossess your car? Good luck meditating.
Yeah.
And so
That's
with
the
all
reality
with
that
these
a
kind
lot
of
people
yeah.
face. It is really, right, especially when you're in this, like, the global economy seems to be grinding to a halt soon, and inflation going up, people losing jobs. Like, even though these are elements that seem to be throughout, they're always happening. It's at some point in some place in this world. There are so many people that feel like it's hard to find the calm amongst the storm. And so
Yeah,
this is why this is such an important conversation to have.
absolutely. And then probably within ourselves and many others that are looking on, it was like, oh yeah, it would be great to have that luxury that you have, or going on meditation and yoga retreats, and you're making artwork for a living, and you got this time to meditate, these hours a day. Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, good for you.
Right.
So there's this sort of like jealousy that arises too. So it really, I mean, you do have to have your health. You have to have a harmonious environment. You've got to not have all these things always, really troubling the moment, and be able to break away to practice spiritual things. And so how do we get there? Like our good karma can lead us into a place where we have enough abundance to have a room to meditate in. We have enough food to eat, and we've got a little bit of spare time. That's all of our good karma from past lives and from this life that has led us towards being able to have an environment like that. So if you do have an environment like that, I think it's your duty to go towards spiritual things. Your good karma has led you towards being able to get there. So I would say seize the moment if you find yourself being able to have that luxury. And then if you don't, if you're in a place where there's a lot of chaos in your life and you can't pay your bills and you're really afraid of the world and all of that, one of the big things that has been coming up for me is that Yogananda, and this is a spiritual renewal week, happened at my ashram in beginning of July. So I wasn't there in person, but I've been attending the online courses and things there. And it's amazing that just as I'm thinking about these things, this is what they're talking about at Spiritual Renewal Week, is all of these things. So a lot that I'm going to be sharing are from things that my teachers were talking about. So this really seems to be in the ether. We're in this age of energy, this Dwapara Yuga. We've come out of the material age, and now we are really meant to find our passions and to do good things in the world. So it's no surprise that my teachers are talking about this a lot. So I thought one of the really cool things that one of my teachers was sharing there was, he says, this is Sai Ganesh again, he says, the wisdom of Yogananda is not just for self-realization. It's also for self-mastery on all levels. Success is simply accomplishing what you set your mind to do. It is realizing and living our own highest potential. And sometimes for a lot of people in this world, it is making money, getting a promotion, finding success in all the ways that we seek. And we know that Paramahansa Yogananda didn't come just for those who were looking to become God realized in this lifetime. He also came for the masses. He came to show everybody who was honest, willing, and sincere how to make more money, how to be more successful, how to raise a family, how to get all that you need with faith in God. This is what we're here to do. And so I think for me, I've been having a little bit of a struggle because I feel like I'm a bit of I want to be a bridge with what I'm doing bridge the gap in between, where I was to where I'm now, like kind of reaching back to help others come across to start practicing these things, creating a discipline. But I've been having this sort of like disconnect because so many of my friends aren't aiming at self-realization in this lifetime. And that's a very rare thing. So how could you have a podcast where you're only talking to like a small handful of the world's population?
True.
I want to do things that are like they said here, that Yogananda's teachings aren't just for that small fraction of the population. It's for the masses. It's for this time that we live in. He came as an avatar for this age, just like Christ came for the material age. Yogananda came for the energy age, and to teach us how to become masters of this energy age. And it starts with becoming to live in an environment where it's more harmonious than chaotic, and being able to go after things that you want to do. And so this is some of the really great, there's a book that just released, I'll put a link to it, called How to Be a Success. It's another one of those little Yogananda wisdom books. And it's a fascinating one. So this is some excerpts from that book. This is about how to utilize willpower and obtain success. This is, so buckle up for this, because this is just like, okay, this is an awakened master, basically letting you know that magic is real. These manifestation powers that we hear so many people talking about and using are real, that you can do this. You don't need to be a self-realized being or a master meditator to do this. You can do this first with a intention of trusting God, having good intentions, wanting to do good things in life, wanting to provide for your family, wanting to be healthy, wanting to, all of those good things. So this is what's been really, I feel like, all right, this is so exciting for me now, because we can start to share on this level, because so many people are looking for material success in life. If you don't have that, it's really tough. It's really tough. So he says, the whole world stands aside for the person who knows where he or she is going and is determined to get there.
That's cool.
The whole world stands aside. I think of Hanuman, the whole world stands aside when he knows where he's going and is determined to get there.
Yeah, I love that. There's a great Gandhi quote, and it says, he talks about like, when he talks about God, the universe being, he says, even if you are a minority of one, if you stand with God, you represent you will always represent the majority. Wow, it's very powerful to move forward in life like that, feeling like if I'm with God, I'm always in the majority. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, because ultimately there's one source operating all of these bodies. Yeah. So when you're in harmony with that, you're in cooperation with that ocean, then everything is going to change and shift to accommodate what God wants to do through you. So once you decide that that's what you want to do, nothing can stop you. What could stop you, And you start to live like, I love the metaphor of the Jedi. The Jedi walks through all of this turbulent, really tough task with all of this adversity against them, but they can walk through that life with a sense of safety, of knowing that they're doing what they're meant to be doing. So that's why the Jedi is always calm. You never see the Jedi angry. Is it, that whole story, anger, what anger leads to, and all this. So this is another part of that from Yogananda. Your success in life does not depend only upon your natural ability. It also depends upon your determination to grasp the opportunity that is presented to you. And so I want to just break all these points down here. So your success in life does not only depend on your natural ability, which is great because we don't always start out with a ton of natural ability. Sure. We learn and develop abilities. Maybe we have a little inclination of a natural ability, but it also depends upon your determination to grasp the opportunity that is presented to you. Yeah. And so this was making me think that, man, how many opportunities are we missing? Because we're frustrated, angry, scared. We're missing, something we were talking about before this podcast, of just when something unexpected comes up in your life and then all of a sudden it rattles you and shakes you. Oh, I thought it was going to go this way, but now it's going this way. And now your mind is in a state of panic. Yeah. But there's an opportunity there, like we talk about a lot, that this crisis is opportunity. And it's danger plus and opportunity mixed in together there. But if you look for the opportunity, there's always something there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in New York recently, and I may have already mentioned this before, but it just was a really powerful experience. I was in New York for a conference
that I was speaking at, and I had a chance to lay in my hotel and rest, or get up and go out. And what I found was, you have so many personal reasons in your head. I'm tired, I'm in pain, it's better for me to sleep, it's really warm under these covers. And it doesn't take much to convince yourself to stay where you are. But if you just get past that moment, just that mentality, just think to yourself, I hear all of these reasons, but I'm still going to do it anyways. And you show up. The amount of opportunities that came to me when I made the decision to do it, especially when everything was telling me just to lay in bed and sit in this safe, warm place, to step out, just to take the step past that moment, the opportunities are exponentially more. Meaning that it's even more than when if let's say I wasn't feeling like that, if I woke up and I'm like, I'm ready to take on this world and see what it has to give me, I would make the argument that that's great, but the opportunities are far less when it's the easy way. Choose the hard way, and you'll be surprised how many more opportunities are presented to you. I feel like that's how the universe works. We'll gift you if you show up every day and it doesn't feel like a hard press. We'll gift it to you, but show up when it's hard. Show up when it's challenging. Show up when you don't feel like it. And that's when you're going to get rewarded. That was what was given to me. That experience, that treasure of an experience was given to me while I was in New York. And so every time I don't feel like doing something, I'm like excited, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm really doing it this time because I know that the reward is going to be plentiful.
Yeah, this is you're tapping into the secret of it here. This is the true secret and where the magic lies. And I'm gonna do my best to remember your story of saying that. And if you're listening to this now, try to remember this, write this down. Also I'll put some notes in this episode too, like a PDF that you can download some of this stuff, because it's very important to remind yourself regularly of these things, because that is where it lies. It's willpower is our greatest superpower. Like this willpower is our greatest asset that we have. This is our only real faculty that we have as a human being, is our willpower. And we can use that willpower to aim it in the direction of good things, of discipline, of getting up when we need to, doing that hard thing. And just like you said, when we do that, then that's when the universe responds to us. So when you do that, it's like the harder it is, like this week, it's been harder for me to meditate for some reason. Just having the willpower, it's taken a lot of willpower just to like still do it, get up, do my yoga exercises, do my meditations. And what I say to myself is like, okay, I'll just do the first 3 at least, the first 3 exercises. And then by the time it's like, I already forgotten, I'm already in number 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just get up and just start, just get that car, start pushing it, and then eventually it starts going, and it's so much easier. So yeah, that's a perfect point there. And we're going to talk about willpower here in this discussion too, and how to utilize willpower and how to get more of it. So yeah, that's exactly it. And those opportunities that arise. So keep on the lookout for these opportunities, especially in difficult times where we need to really bring our willpower to the table. When things didn't go the way that we wanted them to go, get curious. Get this sort of mischievous curiosity about you when it doesn't go the way you wanted. You don't even have to let others on if they're not keen on this kind of thing, but it's nice to have a friend if you can talk about this with, because say my brother and I, we just finished a series of 5 murals. It always, when we paint murals, it always, to us, maybe people look at them and think we just know what we're doing, and you're an artist, so of course this is the kind of things that you do, it's your bread and butter. But like every time we finish one, we're like, oh my God, I believe in miracles. Like it's a miracle to us every time, because there's so many little things that could go wrong on the process throughout the whole thing. And to be able to finish it in the timeline, you got to rent this lift and it's like $1,000. You got to be able to, finish it in the timeline that you said you were going to, because the space is opening up, and you got all these materials that need to work out and things to cooperate. And so just pulling it off just always feels like a crazy miracle. So just a little story here, I think maybe to help this stick. Our client is the wrestler Malachi Black. He has this. He had this code for the students are going to come and train in this gym. So he wanted to write this out in calligraphy on the wall as a big mural. I do a little bit of calligraphy with calligraphy pens, some paint markers that I add to like the edge of my frames and things like that. I have a calligraphy style that I've developed that's a bit hard to read, but it's, so I was like, okay, I like that idea. I've never even painted calligraphy before. I've never used a brush and painted a mural of calligraphy, let alone 14 lines that have to be like evenly spaced, perfectly, straight on this wall, legible, readable, and it has to look super clean. And then also, in order to finish it in time, my brother and I both have to paint this together.
Right.
Because it's like we got 3 days, 3 days, 3 days, 3 days to finish that one, 3 days to finish that one, 3 days to finish that one. So it's like, and it had a really busy summer already, and we haven't really had a lot of time to practice. I had one night back home. I had ordered a series of brushes, and then, I'm in my garage, like practicing with the size that it's going to have to be on the wall, trying to get the right brush down. So I was like, okay. And then Matt came over in the morning, and we're like, okay, we're practicing this. We're like, can we do this? And we got it to a place where we were like, okay, these letters are looking pretty nice. We got this one brush out of all the ones that I ordered. I got the one, so I needed two. So I'm like, okay, I went on and ordered some brushes to be shipped to the house that we were at. And they were going to be there right about the time where we're going to start painting that mural. Then I go look at my email, a couple of days in over on the project, and those special brushes are out of stock.
Oh, no.
They aren't arriving. I don't know where to get any more of those. And so it's like, okay, what are we going to do here? I don't have the brushes that we need to paint this wall. So, and Matt and I are both like, we're keen on this practice like this. So like, okay, don't get upset. Don't get frustrated with this. Something else wants to happen. There's a reason for this. And so in that moment, it's about getting calm, smiling about it, like, of course, like you're just playful with the universe. Like, what are you trying to do here? Right. I wanted it to go one way, but apparently you want it to go another way. But I know you got better things cooking for me in mind. And this is just a simple example. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm looking around at Dick Blick. There's one like an hour away from where I'm at. And so I'm like, I'm looking online. I can't find the one that I want. So I'm just going to go. I got to just keep doing something at least. So keeping an even, cheerful mind about it, knowing that something good is going to happen. So I go to the Dick Blick store. I bring the other brush with me, and I'm looking around, and, I finally find one that I think is going to work, that looks similar to the one that I have. And then they also had another one that was like a little bit wider. So I got those ones and the little bit wider ones. I brought those back, and they worked really well, actually. They're actually much nicer than the other ones that I got. Wow. Yeah, I liked it more. And then because I got the thicker one, I was actually able to take some of the more prominent points of the, I was able to bold the bottom sentence there, which I thought stood out really nice, and it wouldn't have happened if we just, things went the right way.
Interesting.
So in that moment is just like there could be little things that the universe wants to do. It just wanted to make my letters a little bit better, wanted me to bold that. And it also wanted me to learn this little lesson of just staying calm when things don't go my way.
Yeah, I love that. And so do you have, maybe we can put that image up of the calligraphy that you did on the wall with this podcast. I'm sure everyone's going to want to see the work that you've done.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that, and it's all on my Instagram. So at Pale Horse, and then we also have an at Seekers of the Eternal Instagram. There's also time lapses of us painting these as well, so you can see that there. And yeah, that was just like big shout out to my brother for being able to pull this off. I've been practicing calligraphy for years now. He has not.
Mhm.
And he stepped up. And there's another part of this that we're going to talk about today, which this is also a great example. These thoughts that go through your mind, we're always having either success thoughts or failure thoughts
Mm.
coming into our mind. And they say, this is from brain studies, neuroscientists, brain studies, they say that failures that happen in our life, things that we consider failures, things that didn't go our way, things that we didn't do, we messed up, we would see as a negative, imprint on our brains 5 times stronger than success. So something that we did successful, it has a light imprint on our minds. The things that are we consider a failure, like putting your hand on a hot stove, right? That failure, that thing you fucked up.
Yeah.
It's a protection. It's a good thing in some ways to protect the animal from doing that again. So it imprints 5 times stronger on our brain. And so we really have to put out some willpower to put success thoughts into our mind.
Mm.
So with Matt, as we're painting this lettering, he needs to have, and I need to have, success thoughts, not thinking, I don't know how to do this. I can't do that. If you're thinking that, then it's not going to look good. It's going to look wobbly. It's going to look fearful, whatever. But if you just say, like, I can and I will, and you put that energy forward, and and then you do a little bit of practice, and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I can do this. And then you just go for it with everything, and that's what he did, and we were able to do this whole wall of lettering that you can't really tell that 2 people painted this, and we painted it all together. Letter forms that have to be exact and all that kind of stuff, and so I'm really proud of him.
Yeah, I think like I feel like the one message that keeps coming through is like, you have to be deliberate, and you have to be intentional, and you have to be focused. I think a lot of us, when you hear people talking like this, sometimes it's like, oh, but it's so hard because X, Y, Z. But it is hard, but it's hard if you have the mentality that it's hard. But meaning, like, when someone's committed to doing something, they're not focused like, this is hard, the water is cold, it's hard to, my shoulders are sore, I don't know if I can do this. When you're committed to doing something, all of that is besides the point. That just comes with the territory. It's like pointing out that the walls around me are white. It's irrelevant. I'm going to finish this. It's irrelevant how my body feels. It's irrelevant how early I have to wake up. It's irrelevant how focused I need to be, because I need this outcome. I'm going for this outcome, and nothing's going to stop me. And I think that's usually when that person achieves it. Whether it was Matt with the calligraphy, or you getting this project done, or any one of us who've achieved anything in life, we all know it. Even the person that denies, every time they've achieved something, it's probably because of the singular focus that they had to get that done. Passing a test, or winning a race, or getting the career you've always wanted to have. Like, you had a singular focus. And then when you have achieved those things, many people take their eye off the ball, or it's already in there. And then we end up getting into like this autopilot. And to the point where some people stay in autopilot so long that they forget that they still have this incredible gift of willpower, and if they just activate it again, and then they can achieve again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That warrior spirit, you want to be like a Marine, a soldier, it's that embrace the suck, whatever's happening. It's hot. I'm tired. All those kind of things. You sort of revel in the fact that it's really hard. And like, yeah, this is really hard. That's why it's fucking cool. Like, that's why people are going to look at it and think, wow, that's great, because it is hard. So you start to think like, oh, these things that are hard, that's what separates us, when we can do stuff and we cannot get distracted by yeah, aches and pains. Like when we started, when we were there, somebody gave us a cold like right at the beginning, and we both like had colds the whole time that we were painting. So it's like now you're like lethargic and all that, but it's like didn't stop us, didn't slow us down. We didn't have AC in the space at the beginning. It's in Florida during the summer, so it was just like you're sweating. All of those, like mural painting really makes you into a soldier and makes you really like embrace the suck of things. And so yeah, that's a huge part of it. Also makes me think that to say that ratchet it up in your life just a little bit higher, something that you haven't quite achieved yet. You don't want to go from 0 to 100. You don't want to go from never painting a mural to thinking you could go and do this. You would go from, level yourself up. Okay, we're very competent in painting murals. We know all of the steps to it. We've been painting for a while. We know how to work a lift. We know how to do all this other stuff. We just haven't done calligraphy in this way yet. So we're ratcheting up just a few steps. So that's the way that I would say, don't aim so high, Icarus, that you burn your wings and fall to the ground. That, you want to just go up in incremental levels that you know that you can get to if you focus and you go for it.
Yeah.
And so this is continuing with Yogananda. A strong will by its dynamic force creates a way for its fulfillment. By its very strength, the will sets into motion certain vibrations in the atmosphere. I guess we'll stop there. This one, because a strong will by its dynamic force creates a way for its fulfillment. By its very strength, the will sets into motion certain vibrations in the atmosphere. We're talking about magic here with the willpower. This is a superpower that you have. So the things that you're talking about with the will, when we decide to do it, it's a dynamic force, and it sets into motion certain vibrations in the universe. Like, what does that mean? It means that we're generating the reality around us. We're co-creating in this dream when we use our willpower. The universe is responding to us. The holographic universe is shifting and changing, like Luke Brown was talking about in our past. Listen to that one we did with Luke Brown, the visionary artist. The universe is like it's a holographic universe that's shifting and changing based on the willpower that we're exerting and putting into the universe.
Yeah.
And so he says, nature, with its laws of order, system, and efficiency, then creates circumstances favorable to the individual who exercises willpower. So he's saying this is a law of the universe. We're not talking about woo-woo, wishy-washy, maybe this is real, I'm just kind of like wishful thinking, hoping. No, this is all on you. And it makes it our responsibility, which that's how you know when if you're hearing anything about magical practices or manifestation techniques, you know that it's real when it's all in your lap, when it's your responsibility. You're not waiting around for something to happen for you.
Yeah, I think that to me, I've never heard it put so succinctly like that before. So if this is a dream reality, meaning, we could dream into fruition whatever we want, the magic or the key, the tool that we should be using is willpower to activate those dreams. That's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily put those two together. They talk about it in flowery language. This person has such a great willpower and they achieved all these things, but it's not a story. It's not something that's apart from you. It's literally this, everyone has access to this. And it's why we see people who have come from, the depths of hell with torture and crime and punishment and the worst things visited upon them, they still find a way out. And it's this beautiful journey, but it didn't come by chance. This person was absolutely determined to get out, and they did. Now, there's a lot of people, though, who try every day and will themselves forward to push to make their life better than what it was yesterday. And what do we say to those situations where someone feels like I use my willpower every day to get out of this hellhole of a life that I'm living, but I can't? So what do we say to those individuals who may be watching and feeling that? Because I take your point when you said you're in this position of luxury if your needs are met and you can now, choose the spiritual path or activate willpower to almost get it instantly, get the return. What about for those people who may not necessarily be in a luxurious situation?
Right. And this is what's so great, because this is universal for those who are willing to do the work. Just like you said, you could be in the worst possible situation, a prison camp, and you can use your willpower, your determination, your focus to get out of any situation. We've all heard incredible, amazing, heroic stories of people going from the worst situations, rising to the top. And really, so many of our heroes that we look up to in this world have done that and shown that. All the great stories of the great saints. Look, they don't come here and just have a flowery, easy life. They show us. Look, I mean, Jesus Christ got nailed to a cross and showed like the body is not even real. I can bring this body back to, I can bring this body back to life. That's the message of Jesus Christ. Yeah. is that not even death is real, that and that he was showing us that he could even be calm on the cross and forgiving those who were killing him at the time. So no matter what you're going through in life, if you have this determination, you have willpower at your disposal. You do. And if you decide, so just like how this started, it says the whole world stands aside for the person who knows where he or she is going and is determined to get there. So first, having that, you got to know where you're going. So if you're locked up in prison and you want to get out, just have your mind on, I'm going to get out. I'm going, and think about, the things that you're going to be doing when you do, having a goal to do good things in the world, having like a real strong focus on like why you want to do what you want to do. And so, and some of the key things that this is what's great too, is that this can all be, I've been really enjoying, and last podcast, I talked about this book called Magic Words, which has just great principles of ways to put this into focus. So anyone can do this, but if you want to be extraordinary, as she says, if you want to be extraordinary, you have to do extraordinary things. So you're putting out all this willpower. Yes, you're working hard. Yes. But, what's the story that you're telling about what's happening in your life? Are you working really hard and then, things don't go your way immediately, and then you start complaining about how it's going? You start to tell a woe is me story. Oh, this always happens to me. Nothing ever good. And then you start thinking about all the people that you could blame for why it's not going well. It's because of this person, or it's this is happening in the news, or it's because of the greedy corporations that are keeping us down. And so are you doing that? Are you complaining and telling this story? If you're doing that, that's the reality that you live in. Right. You live in that reality where you're never going to get a break, where these people are ruining your lives. If you're saying that to yourself and to others, then you just created that reality. You're a reality generator. Yeah. And in also too, like what we run into a lot of times. So never complaining, just never complaining. Not to say that you should be a doormat and let people walk over you if you get a bad meal at a restaurant. It's not saying don't, obviously get it fixed. Right. It's not those practical things that we're talking about, but right. Habitual gossipy, complaining for entertainment's sake, sitting around talking about things, watching the news so that you can have arguments with people, or talking about things that are happening on the other side of the world that you're not actively doing anything to help them, but you're just complaining about everything in the world. This is what's creating the reality for us if we're in that state. So Always tell a positive story about what's happening in your life. Never complain. And in your relationships, always see the good qualities in those people. If you're having trouble with your boss is giving you a lot of hard times, or your supervisor, or whatever is happening, your prison guard, the warden, whatever it is,
Yeah.
find the good things that you like about them. Look for good qualities. Maybe they're always on time, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Find like good qualities about them and relentlessly keep thinking good things about that person, good things about that person. And then when they provoke you with saying something negative about you, come back with something light, something positive, a compliment, or just in your mind saying, oh, they must be having a bad day if they're going to be always coming at me with that when I didn't do anything to provoke them. And they must be, I wonder what they're going through.
Yeah.
Always see, this isn't easy.
Right.
This isn't
Yeah.
easy. But so I think the way that we can do this, okay, so there's multiple ways to master this, right? If you did have the ability to meditate, focus, concentrate, attune with the masters, you could learn how to gain these abilities, right? That is one way to go about it. If you could just seek this first, all else would be, you would get super conscious realizations of all the things that we're talking about. You would learn how to do them. You would attune with spirit. You would become in flow and in harmony with the universe. But if you're not in a place where you're able to do that, practice meditation, then you can also, a great way to do it is environment. Get around books, podcasts, people talking about this. Fill your mind with people talking in this way, aspirational beings. That's why I feel so drawn to creating a community and not just making artwork. Is like, I want to create an environment where we can continuously encourage each other. Like when my brother and I are together, that's 100% the way that we think. And it's like laughable if anybody tries to tell us that's not the case. It's just like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
it's like, it just 100%, this is how it is. And this is how it's working. And we're going to finish this. I mean, we talked about it in another podcast that like, we'll drive out to a mural location where it's supposed to rain all day. It says 100% rain. It's sprinkling on our way to the wall. And we just start setting up and paint because in our mind, we saw ourselves painting that day and we only have this amount of time to paint. So it's going to happen. People would drive by like, what are you guys doing? It's raining. It's like, it's not going to be raining here. And like, literally, like we keep that in our mind and we just set up and start painting. I swear to you, like we're batting 1,000 with this.
Wow.
Like every time we've been able to finish it. Like there was a time where it was raining on all of the other sites around us during a mural festival. Everybody else is packed up. Right over top of us, it's not raining. And then like as we're going to finish this spot of it, it did start raining really hard actually, but then the wind came and the wind was blowing so hard that the wind was blowing the rain, and it wasn't, we were standing under the wall continuing to paint as the rain was like blowing off of us, and then it stopped and it didn't even get our roof like our wall wet. It's like,
wow.
It's amazing what you can do when you're in an environment with another that believes in this,
That's amazing.
So that idea of just being around other people, talking about it, hearing it like this, then you start to get like, maybe that is true. Maybe I will practice what Jay said. Maybe I will get up when it's hard. Maybe I will do that thing when it's hard and see if there's some magic there. And maybe when something does not go the way that I wanted it to go, I will get curious and I'll look for the little hidden, silver lining within that thing for the opportunity. And this is, I think this is the message to everybody. It's not just for those in a privileged position.
Yeah. Very powerful. We're very, very powerful. We are very powerful. We just sometimes don't feel like that, when we wake up or go to bed or when things happen outside of our control. We sometimes put the pressure on us like it was in our control. And I think kind of reminding ourselves, like, all the things within your control, that's what the willpower is for, not to be used on things that are not in your control. Like, I feel like that's one of the things that I sometimes forget, like I determine, like, well, I'm supposed to feel sad. I'm not supposed to feel anything that I don't choose to feel, right? Like, something can happen, like we just talked about, I had a friend of mine who reached out to me, who was going through a really tough time. And, you think you're supposed to be like, oh, that's really terrible. And, but, I was like, no, this is a blessing. This is a blessing in disguise. Like, you choose how you perceive everything that happens to you in your life. And not to say that it's easy, losing a child or losing a loved one is arguably the most painful thing you could ever experience in life. But I've met parents who have lost loved ones who use it as they live with the pain, but they don't share the pain with everybody that they speak to. They actually talk about it as, like, it allowed me to be grateful for the time that I had that person in my life. And now that light that they gifted me with, I can now share with everybody else. And this is coming from someone who just lost the child, and they find a way to turn it into a positive for other people. It's really amazing what we have the ability to do, when we have some courage and we have some willpower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. And when you find yourself being able to do something like that, like, look for, like, when something is happening, when something befalls you, a terrible tragedy, really, once you can, you obviously go through the shock of these kind of things, but recognize that you will, if you use your willpower, and you do want to come out of this thing in a positive, you want to look for the silver lining through it, you will have such a wonderful effect on others who also go through it, where you can say, like, that happened to me. I know what you're going through, and it's gonna be all right, and we can all do that for each other. And you can read books like the Ramayana. It really shows, like, that story is like, the king Dasharatha, he was longing, he was a king for thousands of years. This is in a higher age where people lived for thousands of years. He was ruling the kingdom in such a beautiful way. He's an awakened sage, he's ruling this kingdom, and he couldn't have children. He couldn't have a son. And all of those years, for whatever reason, no sons, no children, no heir to the throne. He's getting older, and he's like, I really want to leave a great successor for the people. It's like this is an awful thing for a king to leave without training a new king. And so they did this big yagya ceremony, and that's where the four brothers were born to. He had multiple wives, because he was trying so hard to have these children. So he has these three wives, and they all had sons. And so this is where Rama was born to him. And Rama is God incarnate. He's the greatest son. So imagine you finally get a son, an heir to the throne, and it's God incarnate. He's the most giving, loving, passionate, successful, incredible at everything that he does. Everyone loves him. You're just so in love with him. And you can just, imagine you're in the presence of a great saint every day of your life, and you just feel the love of him. And then immediately what happens is another saint comes in and says, I need Ram to help me to fight these demons in the forest. So immediately Ram at 14 is taken away. The king really doesn't want that to happen. Ram and his brother Lakshman, they actually defeat the demons and they come back. So it's like, okay, great, that worked out well. And then the next part of that story is that there's a the situation that makes it so that the king now has to banish Ram from the kingdom for 14 years. That's the whole story of the Ramayana. And this just kills him. It actually does kill him. The king dies of sadness from from having to send Ram out into the forest for 14 years and take away the throne from him. And he's just left, Ram just has to go fend for himself in the forest with his wife and his brother. So it's a story about like the depths of tragedy and difficulty and what that looks like and how to overcome these things. So that book has so many of these like secrets hidden there within the story. So it'll be fun too to kind of like show like, here's an example of that. Here's an example of that. Here's how to behave when that happens. So yeah, that is a great thing that we can learn, that every tragedy, the obstacle really is the way, that there is a silver lining hiding within that. And so to continue Yogananda's really powerful paragraph here. Will derives its strength from an honest purpose, lofty motives, and the noble concern to do good for the world at large. A strong will is never stifled. It always finds a way. This will derives its strength from an honest purpose. So when we're aiming at something, an honest purpose, have lofty motives, high motives, a noble concern to do good for the world at large. You want what you're doing to have a good effect on the world at large, and not just a good effect on you and your family. Like that idea of us four and no more, kind of an idea where it's like, well, I'm doing this for my family. People can do a lot of terrible things in that mindset to just, oh, I'm doing this for my family. You could be robbing people for your family. You could be killing people. So you want to do things that are good for the world at large, because what we're talking about is really turning on your superpowers, and you can very much become part of the dark side of the force with this. And we see what happens. Yogananda says, why are there villains in the movie? Why are there villains in the stories? Why are there villains in this scriptural book, the Ramayana and the Bhagavad Gita, full of villains and violence and terrible atrocities? Why aren't those just beautiful stories, uplifting stories? He says the villains are in the story so that you don't become the villain. The villain gets his throat slit. The hero is the you can see what happens when the hero does the heroic things. You can see what happens when the villain plays the part of the villain. So those are examples for us. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we have these lofty motives and a noble concern for the world at large. And then this strong will is never stifled. It always finds a way. So this is the promise to us, that once we set our will in motion, we use this willpower, we set towards this, what we want to happen. So here's where we get into like instructions, really. Use the will and continuous activity in order to be successful. Here are 3 rules for making your willpower dynamic. So we want to first, this is where we start. Choose a simple task or accomplishment that you have never mastered and determine to succeed in it. So take a simple task. It's probably good to make it simple. Think about an immediate need that you have. Maybe it is, I need to make $1,000 more per month or something like this. Something where you can, don't go like, I'm going to be a millionaire if you're not anywhere near that. So just ratchet it up a little bit. A simple task or accomplishment that you have never mastered. Maybe you want to learn to write calligraphy letters. Maybe you want to learn how you want to become, say, a yoga teacher. Say you want to develop a great ability to sing. Say you want to learn how to draw. You want to take a class. You want to, get good at something. Anything that it is, take a simple task or accomplishment that you've never mastered and determine to succeed in it. Maybe you want to learn Japanese. How fast could you do it? Like if you really put your willpower towards something like this. And so begin by being sure that you have chosen something constructive and feasible. Then refuse to consider failure. this part, refuse to consider failure. So as you know, say, okay, I wanted to paint this calligraphy lettering. Things aren't going my way. I could have just gotten upset and said, oh, I don't have the brushes to do this. This isn't going to happen. No, in that moment, you refuse to consider failure. And you just say that this is just a stepping stone towards where I'm headed. You know, like you start a business and it doesn't, it's not profitable right away. You refuse to consider failure. You're saying, no, this is just leading us towards, this is meant to be like this. Concentrate on a single purpose, using all abilities and opportunities to forward it. So you have your mind on what you want to happen. You know that this is what I'm aiming at. This is what's going to happen. So all of the things that, the distractions, the obstacles, the things that get in the way, you refuse to consider any of that a failure, knowing that you're going to take this willpower and that it will never be stifled and it will always find a way.
Yeah,
Powerful.
I think you see that a lot obviously you see it in some of these great legends, these people that we look up to. I think we also see it a lot in the sports world, if you think about it, right? Like sometimes you see these teams that are like, they're down, they're out, it's almost a foregone conclusion. They've been just terrible for 4 quarters. And then that 3 quarters, and then that last quarter, they summon, God knows where they get it, but they are just like, we will not lose. And it's like, we all gather around the television, or it excites us because I think we all recognize when people have tapped into that moment, whereas like, these guys are not, it's like watching a boxer in a fight where this guy's on the ropes and he's about to be out. It reminds me of when Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman in Africa, and I think it was like in Zaire, and everyone thought he was going to lose. Even there's an amazing video, maybe we can put it at the end of this. Before Muhammad Ali walks out to the ring with George Foreman, he's standing there and someone has a camera on him, and he's standing there with everybody, his trainers, his coach, his everybody. And he looks around and he's like, is everyone doubting me? All of you. You all doubt me. He's like, how am I supposed to win with the people who are supporting me doubting me? Don't doubt me. He's like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to prove everybody in the world wrong, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to show you that I'm going to beat George Foreman. And he was expected to just get annihilated by George Foreman because George Foreman beat Joe Frazier, who just beat Muhammad Ali. And he gets out into the ring and he looks at George Foreman, and he, before the fight begins, already says to himself, I'm not going to fail. And he does this really great interview. I'll see if we can find it, where he talks to George in the ring and he's standing face to face with him. And he's like, do you realize who you're staring at? He's like, you've been looking up to me your whole life, and now you're about to understand what a real boxer is. I'm going to teach you a lesson. And he goes in the ring and he's boxing with this guy, and George Foreman hits like a truck. And every time Muhammad Ali felt pain and he's on the ropes, but he never showed it. Every time George Foreman came close, he would whisper in his ear, is that all you got, George? And George would be hitting him harder. And by the end of, I can't remember the round, but it was in the later round, George Foreman had tuckered himself out. And Muhammad Ali had taken all of his best shots. And then he just waited for that opportunity, and he lays out George Foreman and he wins. And he defies all the odds, but it came from that space where he adopted the attitude of refuse to lose. I cannot fail. Failure is not an option in this ring tonight. And he proved everybody.
Yeah, we love watching that sort of thing. No, like, because yeah, you said it's a tangible energy when you recognize. You can tell. Sometimes you can see when it shifted, or a team, or a person, or whatever, and you're like, oh wait, they might be still in this, like, and maybe they did have like a coach that had just a badass pep talk that got them all like, in that mindset of like, reminding them of these things that we're talking about in a way where they're just like, yeah, and believed in it. And then just, had more willpower. And maybe the team that was winning just let down their guard. You're like, oh, I got this, no problem. I'm just going to walk in here and do that. And then when the other one is like, rallies the forces and just takes them out. Yeah, that's how that happens.
And it's appealing forever. It's timeless if you think about it, right? Like that fight happened before I was even alive. And I'm quoting it like I was there watching the fight, because obviously I've gone back and I've watched it on video so many times. But it's interesting because I think when someone taps into that force, it's completely timeless and we all recognize it. In 200-300 years from now, people will look back at Muhammad Ali, they'll look back at all the other greats that tapped into that force, and everyone will relate. It doesn't matter the culture, it doesn't matter where you are on the planet, it doesn't matter where you are on this time span of civilization. You always tap in and feel the exact same feeling when someone taps into that force.
And you know, this makes me think about too, is that the audience, us as this audience watching this thing that happened on Earth, in the Ramayana, as Hanuman begins to leap over the ocean, he, you know, they're down and out, they're down in the count, you know, the monkeys have all been trying to find Sita, they can't find her anywhere, they're all starving on this beach, and this giant vulture or eagle in some of the stories is just coming down to eat them, and it's just and this vulture, like, it only has one, you know, wing, because the other one has been burnt, but it's this just giant vulture, and it's going to eat these monkeys, and they're just like, you know, about to give up. And as the story goes, you know, we've told this one before, it's like the vulture ends up, you know, after Hanuman says some things to the vulture ends up helping them and saying, because this vulture had like incredible eyesight, and waddled his way up into a tree, and then looked across and said, I know where Sita is. She's in Lanka, across the ocean. You can get there. But none of the monkeys know how. It was like, we can't jump that far. We can jump pretty far. They're all gods, and they're all god monkeys, but they can't jump that far. Some of them said, I could jump that far, but there's no way that I could get back. And so Hanuman in that moment is told by Jambavan the bear, is told that he has the power to jump across this ocean, that there's nothing that could stop him from doing that. So it's this pep talk, right? You know, Muhammad Ali is like, so imagine, Muhammad Ali didn't get the pep talk, but you know, imagine the coach giving you the pep talk, saying, you have the ability to do this. I believe in you. You are the son of the wind. There's nothing that can stop you. And then he's like, oh, you're right. I can do this. Goes and leaps across the ocean, immediately met with all kinds of difficulties. There's a giant sea monster that comes out and is trying to eat him. And so in this story of like the audience, imagine the audience of the gods and the angels, the devas, watching us in our life. And so in that story of that sea monster, the gods actually put that sea monster there. They were saying, Hanuman is a great warrior, but we want this story to be incredible and legendary, so that it's told for thousands of years and forever in the future. So we need to put more obstacles in his path and to watch what he does, you know? So because Hanuman is never going to admit failure, he's never gonna quit. They know that he's going to be successful. So after he, you know, outsmarts this sea monster, they're cheering. So you can imagine that in our lives, when we're faced with these adversities and we don't accept failure, and we use our willpower, imagine the gods watching and cheering and being so proud of us.
Yeah. Powerful stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, we can imagine always that there's that sort of pay-per-view audience, you know, like tuning into what we're doing.
Cheering us on. I like to think of my ancestors, everybody who lived before me. You know, there's a guy, I can't remember. Oh, it's Amistad. And there's a line in there where there's someone who becomes enslaved, and he has to fight for his freedom. And, you know, he's been told, you're going to go meet the Supreme Court. You're going to meet the magistrate, and, you know, but you won't be in there alone. And he says, no, I know I won't be in there alone, because I will call every ancestor who came before me, and they must come and stand with me, because right now I am the only reason why they existed in the first place. So I remind myself of that, to all my ancestors, everyone who's before me, cheering me on, cheering all of us.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, call on the ancestors and make them proud. Yeah. I love that. So the next part of this, so be sure you have chosen something constructive, feasible, and then refuse to consider failure. Concentrate on a single purpose using all of your abilities and opportunities to forward it. So the second one is be sure that your willpower is used constructively, not for harmful purpose or for trifling things. So yeah, this is very important because you are recognizing your true powers here. This is how you can become Ravana in this story rather than Hanuman. You can choose the dark side of the force, and you can start to get an appetite for these things happening. Oh, look how I used this and I got what I wanted. Maybe I can start to manipulate other people to start doing what I want. There's so many sinister stories, like the book the Game, if you've ever heard of that one, about people that are like these pickup artists that learn how to use the techniques and ways to like trick people and to do all this kind of stuff. Like you can start to use these in very sinister ways and start to get like a real, like, you know, a taste for the dark side of the force. And you know, you can create incredible big, you know, big companies. You can be just like Ravana. He had like a beautiful garden. He had an incredible palace. He had so many people that were, you know, that apparently loved him because of all the things that he was providing for them. But he had, you know, he had trifling purposes and was doing a lot of harm. Thirdly, always be sure that what you want is right for you to have. Then use the force of your will. Use the force of your willpower to accomplish your object, always keeping in mind your mind on spirit, the source of all. So when you be sure that what you want is right for you to have. There's so many things that we could have. That's the biggest thing for me. Like I think of something that I want and I'm like, you know, you're looking into the future and then you're like, maybe it's not that. Maybe it is this. I think for me, what helps is like, what do I need right now in this moment? What is it right now that's just out of reach? I feel like that's what's calling to me, is to be very specific about what you need right now. And then next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. It doesn't always have to be this big, lofty, grand vision. It can just be like, is this right for me in this next moment? I really need to pay my bills. I really need to do this. Yeah, maybe it is. That is a right, good thing for me. And then always keeping your mind on spirit, the source of all. So saying like, I'm keeping my mind on spirit. I'm keeping my mind on the source. Just like Hanuman is chanting Rama, Rama, Rama as japa in your mind. Like I was sharing before, like I like to chant love, 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 until love and Rama became synonymous in my mind. And just keeping your mind on love, not fear, love, not fear. And that will guide you. So he ends here, this paragraph. The power from dynamic source of your being will flow through you so that you will be creative in the world of business, the world of thought, or the world of wisdom. The power of the power from the dynamic source of your being, will flow through you. The ego gets out of the way and the source energy is now flowing through you. This is how you be one with the force. Will flow through you so that you will be creative. So creative in the world of business. Wisdom downloads what to do. You have something that comes up. What do I do? Creative force now brings that wisdom, and you know what to do in business. You know what to do in the world of thought. Maybe you become a thought leader, somebody who has just incredible things to share with humanity, or the world of wisdom, which is that just pure, spiritual wisdom. You may become like a great master of words that's able to express these very high spiritual ideas with people. And I think maybe thought is like philosophies, all of these kind of things. So that's amazing. That's how to be a Jedi, really, there. So I'll put these notes so that you can go over those again, and I'll put a link to Yogananda's book, How to Be a Success, because this is all in there. I have more to share on this as well, but I think something that I wanted to make sure that we fit in this podcast is, I think where I want to go with what we're doing with this is more and more, like I was saying, create this environment and then be a support for each other, where we can share stories, we can share like how we're doing this, and we can hear about other people's like success stories. We can they can talk about our goals and our aims. We can also do group meditations together where we can also even like all together choose a thing that we'd like to manifest in the world simultaneously as like one. We all like choose something that we would like to see happen. We can feel that. And then there's a meditations for feeling that desire in the heart. First, you feel a desire in the heart, and then you move that energy of that desire up to the spiritual eye, and then that spiritual eye sends it like a beam out into the universe, like this. And then you can use a visualization. This is Yogananda's technique of creating a magnetic field, like when an electromagnet starts to have this rotation around it, and it becomes stronger and stronger. So you can magnetize that reality and draw it towards. So we can do these things together, and then you can learn how to just do that whenever you want to make something happen in your life. You have these tools. So I'm thinking, maybe we start to really outline this, and maybe we put together like a Patreon, some sort of subscription for people that want to like be a part of this and have more direct support and things like that from us. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of kind of going with this, which I think could really be cool. And then creating NFTs around like as ways for people to support what we're doing. Creating these collections of artwork, because I think really that's what makes artwork so exciting for me. Is like, oh, there's more to this. This is so much more than just a pretty picture. Like I'm supporting that, like we talk about, like what t-shirt are you wearing? What does that mean? What is that all about? So having these things in your collection saying like, this is something that I support. And then also a big part of when we have these goals is giving money back, supporting organizations, or projects or social causes that we want to put money towards. I see like we could all become, as seekers of the eternal, powerful manifestors. And then we could just aim what we want to happen at, like we want to see this amazing thing get built or happen, and then just like watch it happen,
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's great. I think the solidarity that comes with this, I think is so valuable, because everybody sometimes, I think it was maybe Thomas Aquinas that says no man is an island. And I feel like sometimes we forget that. We think like, I don't want to ask for help, or I'm supposed to get this willpower thing, so I don't want to acknowledge the fact that I'm struggling with this. And we don't want that. Like sometimes maybe in conversation, things that maybe you and I may even say sound a lot easier, but we should be very clear. These are even challenging for us, and we have to remind ourselves at times that there could be a positive outcome, and that we should change our perspective. And I think it's really important for people to recognize that this isn't like a switch that you can turn on and turn off. This is something that you constantly work at for the rest of your life. And the goal, if there was a line, I think don't worry about like making, today I was able to use my willpower, and today I found myself lazy. Today I'm proud of myself. Today I'm embarrassed with the decisions that I made, and then add up the score. That's not really how it works. I think what you have to do is ensure that be comfortable that there's gonna be dots on both sides of the arc, but the arc should lean towards the direction you're trying to go. And it doesn't matter the score. Just know that if your focus is to implement your willpower and ensure that you're having a positive perspective, and continue to focus on what you're trying to achieve, then the arc will tilt in the direction you want it to go. And that's what you should be focused on more so than the individual instances of failure or success.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That is a very good point, because when you start, obviously, you're not going to be a master of this right away. We've practiced being a master of failure talk and complaining for how many lifetimes.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like it's going to feel weird at first. You're even going to feel like, maybe you're feeling like this is just wishful thinking, or that I'm being over, toxic positive or whatever. It's going to feel weird at first, and you're going to not do it perfectly at first, but just having the seed planted and having an aim at getting better. And then it's great, like if you have a little introspection after your day, and then looking back and saying like, oh, here's some things sometimes where I wish I would have done this a little better. Great.
Yeah.
Because before you weren't doing that. You weren't even doing that. You were just like in a pattern of just going farther and farther off into the woods with complaining and all of this. So when you catch yourself and then you say, what, a little trick that I've been doing for me is when I'm doing an introspection, I'm looking back at my day, I pretend like I'm watching a TV series where I'm a character in that show. And then I replay it back, and then like any areas where I kind of cringe while I'm watching the character, I go to God as like the great director and say like, I don't really like what my character is doing here. Can you like make him not do that anymore? I don't like that about it. I don't think he would be doing that in the place where he's going. And then God's always like, yeah, good. Me too. I like that. And so, just it's always like having that little conversation of saying, I want to be better. Another thing that I forgot to mention also is to have a gratitude journal at the end of your day, the things that you're grateful for. So just, it can be very quick. There's one called the 5-minute journal, which is really great. You can get where you're just writing down things that you're grateful for, and maybe a couple of things that you wanted to do differently. So powerful to do that. So that's another part of this.
I wanted to add one last thing as well. As we start to self, analyze and trying to figure our way forward, and we're asking to give ourselves understanding and give ourselves forgiveness. I think in the same vein, like, be really conscious of everybody that's around you, that just remind yourself that everyone's on the same journey. And so they too deserve your patience and your understanding. And sometimes you may think, oh, they always make these terrible decisions. If you get too focused on the choices that other people make that are not the right choices, or choices that you wouldn't make yourself, you'll start to ignore all of the great things that they do as well. And it can be really hurtful. I think as we go through this journey ourselves, I think it's important to recognize that our children and our spouse and our coworkers and our boss and our parents, they're all on the same journey, and there's going to be tons of failures. And it's important for us to be as forgiving and as understanding and focused on the good things that they're doing. Remind them of the good things and make sure that they know that what you care about is that the arc goes in the direction that they intended to go. And that's the most important thing. So I think just being aware that while you're doing it for yourself, you do it for the people that you love as well, and other people that you don't even know.
Absolutely. Because you don't want to become obnoxious with this either. You don't want to go around telling everybody else what to do, or tell them that they should be positive when they're going through it. If they're not doing this, if they're not on this journey of doing these things, and then you're just going we can become very obnoxious. I think that I know that I probably rubbed a lot of people in the wrong way early on as I was starting to learn these things. We have aspirations, and we're affirming all of these things. We're listening to podcasts and reading books, and we're wanting to get there, and we want to be talking about it all the time. But be conscious that some people don't want to hear it. And that's okay. That's okay. Like, you really just stick to your guns of just thinking good things about them, sending them good energy, thinking about all the things that you love about them. Think about like what their biggest fan would say about them. And that's the best thing that you can do for them. You don't want to go around telling everybody to do these things, because this, even though I was opening this by like, I want this to be for the masses so that anybody can tune into it. Really, those that are going to do this in their life, you are among rare air. If you're listening to this and you're interested in this, you are one of the most positive people on the planet. You are someone who has gone through a lot of lifetimes. You have learned a lot of things in your life. If you're even willing to enter, if you've gotten so far into this conversation, you are among a small minority of people who would want to even attempt this. So recognize that, and recognize that not everybody's going to want to hear it, but you will run into people who will like be very curious, and then we can continue to build this community. So I think that's why it's important to have this little, community building, so that we can be free to express it amongst those who really want to talk about these things. So we're nearing the end of our time here. I thought, let's see, what else could we share here? Oh, so if you're interested in being a part of this community, I think I opened a new Instagram account. It's just at Seekers of the Eternal on Instagram. Surprisingly, that was just available. The funny thing is that about a week, and so I was like, okay, cool, like Seekers of the Eternal is available. I got this new idea. I want to just, like what I was talking about, most of the people that are following me don't want to hear about all this stuff. They want to just look at my artwork or whatever. I was finding like I was just getting so many unfollows anytime that I would talk more or share more or whatever. So I've split it into like another Seekers of the Eternal Instagram, where I can be more free to talk among people who want to hear about this stuff and go deeper. So I was like, oh, great. This is how we can do it. Also, Threads is now available, so we can have like conversations and stuff. And so immediately, like as that I made that and I started posting on it, Instagram started blocking me for whatever reasons. And now anytime that I try to post something, it says like that I'm violating community guidelines. I can't follow people.
Wow.
Every time I try to do something, it just comes back and deletes my posts right away. So this is like a perfect example of that. Like, I'm moving forward with this thing. I wanted to do this, and I was very gung-ho about putting out like really regular content on there, about doing our weekly Tuesday night 8 o'clock meditations. I was going to put them all on there live. For whatever reason, that's the obstacle right now, is that I can't post on anything there and I can't follow people. So I know that that's not going to last. I know that I'm just keeping a positive mindset. But if you like this conversation and you want to start being a part of that, go follow at Seekers of the Eternal, because that's going to get cleared. Imagine that for us.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to be posting these things. I've been doing the Tuesday night meditations on my @PaleHorse Instagram. I'm going to be traveling this next Tuesday, but I'll be back there posting those. So I'll always put it up on my stories and let people know that there's going to be a meditation at 8 o'clock. Those are those are Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, 30 minutes. And that's a way that we can continue to check in. So yeah, go follow those accounts. And then as soon as that's back up, I'll be posting a lot more stuff on there.
Cool.
Another way that you can support this is go to, we have Hanuman shirts out. So go to palehorsedesign.com. There's a store link there, Hanuman shirts. There's women's hoodies. I started doing women's stuff. All this stuff is like super high quality. I'm really specific on all my the threads and the printing and all that stuff. So go check that out. It's a good way to support it. And then also on OpenSea, the Hanuman collection is there. We'd love to see the numbers of that starting to rocket up as we put more energy into all this stuff. I really think those things are gonna start to double, triple, quadruple here in the coming time.
Absolutely. I think there's going to be more people that want this type of content to help them support the journey that they're on. And those Hanuman NFTs is an incredible representative of just being a member or a community member here with us. And we're all together. And yeah, we teach lots of lessons on Hanuman and how we can implement the lessons from his life into our own. So hopefully we do have more people joining the fray. And Chris, this has been absolutely enlightening as usual. And I can't thank you so much for the wisdom and inspiration today.
Happy to share. Happy to have friends to talk about these things with and to motivate each other. And you always motivate me. So thank you for all that. I'm going to be
Pleasure.
putting all that into action as well. So can't wait to get back together and continue exploring these things. So looking forward to it. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. And we will catch you again soon. Blessings. Joy to you.
Blessings, everyone.
Mhm.